Hello, everybody. Sorry about that delay. All this weather, I was a little slow getting home. Thank you for joining the Week Ahead News Show here on the Lee Doodle channel. It is currently episode 43. It is December 27th? Sorry, 29th. That wasn't updated, or numbers are wrong. 2025, Monday. First Monday after Christmas. So, hope everyone had a great Christmas. Everyone's excited for the new year here coming up this Wednesday. Ohio State's playing. So it'll be good to see. Didn't have a sports show last week, but we'll talk about what happens this Thursday on New Year's. So excited for that. We'll go right into the weather. Tommy couldn't make it tonight, wasn't feeling the best. We have weather below us, which I'm going to update, and we also have stocks above us as well. It's currently 24, getting a ton of snow today. Let's actually pull up the Weather Channel and see what they say, what's going on. We're going to keep having snow for the next several hours. Our intensity is going to heat up a little bit more in about 30 minutes and then die down. Chance of snow today was 80%, with about 0.3 inches expected. We had a winter weather advisory remains in effect until 1 p.m. on Tuesday. Like effect snow, total accumulation between 3 and 6 inches. Wind gusts as high as 50 miles per hour, so really high, so be careful about there. Normally it says like what county. Just where a portion of northeast Ohio. Snowfall probabilities in the next 12 hours. 81% chance of snow. Within the next 12 hours, less than an inch though, so that's light. But there is a slight chance of more than 1 inch. At least 1 inch, 50%. At least 5 inch, 0%. Some snow, 81%. 48 hours, we have some snow, 96%. At least 1 inch, 93%. At least 5 inches, at 19%. 96% chance of snowfall within the next 2 days. 1 to 3 inches expected, but there's a chance a little bit more. Snowfall amounts in the past 24 hours has been an inch. The next 1 hour, less than an inch. Next 6 hours, less than an inch. Next 12 hours, less than an inch. Next 24, 36 hours, less than an inch. Next 48 hours, 3 inches. Next 72 hours, 3 inches. I believe that means Wednesday. Our dailies today are high. Holy crap. It was 62 degrees today. Dropped all the way down to 21. I remember hearing about this last night. They said almost a 50% drop in temperature. That's what we saw today. Everyone's probably feeling great. 80% chance of snow. Feels like 11. Wind currently is 18 miles per hour west. Humidity 76. Cloud cover 99. 80% chance of precipitation. Moonrise is at 12:49 p.m. Moon set 12:15. Waxing gibbous. Sunrise is at 7:47. First to light 7:16. Sunset 5:02. Last light 5:33. About 10 hours and 22 minutes of daylight. Mosquito risk is low. I always like checking too. Total daylight 9 hours and 14 minutes. That's from sunrise to sunset. The other number I gave you was actually like last light to first light, or first light to last light. Tomorrow will be 24 degrees, low of 20. Snow 32% chance. Let's see how many inches we'll get. No, we talked about that already. Wednesday's when we get most of our snow. What's windy gonna look like tomorrow? Winds at 10 to 20 miles per hour, high at 24, chance of snow 30%. Wednesday, high at 27, low of 13, 77% chance of snow, wind 10 to 20, chance of snow 80, so high. Thursday, 19, 15, partly cloudy, 15% chance of snow. Friday, partly cloudy, 25, 16, 15% chance of snow. Saturday, partly cloudy, 22, 15, 11% chance of snow. Sunday, looks like 25, 22, 7% chance of sleet. Next Monday, 33, 24 if snow showers, cloudy, 40% chance of snow. I'm going to get a little bit of snow next week going into it. We have for stocks for today above us. We see the Dow was down about 0.5%, NASDAQ was down 0.5%, Russell 2000, was down 0.5%, and S&P 500 was down 0.35%. For the last 5 days from last week, numbers we're getting. Dow was up 0.6%, S&P up 0.6%, NASDAQ up 0.10%, very small percent gains. I don't like giving points, but points are good too. But we see points above us. Thank you for stopping by tonight. Sorry for a little bit of dead air, it'll just be me, so taking little breaks every once in a while to wetting the whistle. Hope you're staying safe with these bad roads out. Horrible roads today, should be better tomorrow with the snow. I'll be going quicker as well throughout some of these. Make sure you drop a like. Follow us on Facebook, that's in the description. Subscribe if you're not already. Ring the bell below to be notified whenever we go live. That helps us out as well. All of these helps us out with the algorithms, so really appreciate that. Also, something I'm really excited about. Right now, I run this stream on a Mac, at a laptop. I finally got like a little Mac Mini to run the stream from. So I have a desktop. It'll run way better. It's gonna be exponentially better, more than 4 times better. So that's good. We wouldn't have much lag. I have fiber internet, so all of that's gonna be good with this modern computer that can handle it as well. So excited for that. Whenever we, it'll be faster. Everything we might be able to do more for backgrounds as well, which would be nice. What we do already is nice, but it would be way more smoother. But like sharing video and that stuff will be way easier as well. And I could probably stream video games eventually as well, so that'd be cool to see. A funny topic of the day is how Trump warned a kid about bad Santa on his NORAD call. What happened on Christmas Eve 2025, President Trump and First Lady Melania took part in a NORAD Santa tracker calls, a 70-year-old tradition where officials answer calls from children, track his Santa's journey from around the world. Santa's journey, sorry about that. During the lighthearted event held at Trump's Mar-a-Lago Resort, or basically the White House, the president joked with kids about Santa's travels, asked what gifts they hope to receive, and inserted their own twist in the conversations. Because why go? I forget what it's called, but it's like that Camp David for Christmas when you're president, when you can go to your own resort and make money. During the lighthearted event, the president joked about the kids about Santa's travels, asked about the gifts they hope to receive, and inserted his own twist in the conversation. At one point, Trump told a young caller that it was important to ensure a bad Santa wasn't infiltrating the United States, assuring them Santa is a very good person. I mean, he is an immigrant. Yuck, yuck, yuck. In another moment, when a child said he didn't want coal, Trump jokingly promoted clean, beautiful coal, drawing chuckles and groans alike, of course, so that's funny. That's just typically, how Trump is. Like I said, it would be nice if this was actually held, wasn't around there, so. Added, Mar-a-Lago Resort. I just think it's funny because that's how Trump is. And the clean coal, he always tries to be political about everything. We'll go on to a national topic 1, which is about winter weather and heavy winds put a freeze on the post-holiday travel. We've seen a lot. Powerful winter storm system is sweeping across the United States as holidays travel period ends, bringing snow, ice, and heavy winds and dangerously cold temperature. The system forecast to affect major travel corridors. I want to see if I can maybe turn this up a little bit for you guys. Hello, there we go. The system is to forecast major travel corridors from Midwest to the Great Lakes and Northeast, and millions of Americans are under winter weather alerts and advisories. Hope I sound a little better for you guys. Let me know. Hazardous conditions expected. Snow and ice, heavily snowfall and ice are expected in many regions, making road conditions slick and dangerous for drivers like we saw today. Icy rain and freezing conditions can create surface ice that may lead to slippery highways and bridges, so be careful about that. Because bridges don't have the soil below them, actually. That's why they freeze easier. And they always say ice on bridge, because even if they ice the crap out of the bridge, salt the crap out of the bridge, and even plow it, it's very easy for ice to accumulate. Sometimes they'll have their own de-icing systems. Gusty winds can also impact flights, ground travel, and airport operations during one of the most busy travel periods of the year. Cold air and wind chill. The storm is pulling in frigid air, which we've seen, leading to significant temperature drops and cold wind chills that embrace travel that increase travel hazards and discomfort. So make sure you're careful about that. Travelers are urged to be prepared for hazardous travel conditions, including potential road closures, reduced visibility, and long delays at airports. I don't know if you noticed, whenever it's snowing, they say about 15 to 35% of mph, miles per hour, on the road you should be driving if a road's slick. If the road's beautiful, you're fine. You know what I mean? And that means it's properly plowed, it's salt, you're not even seeing any snow build up on the road. But if it's how it is today, you should drive 15 to 35%. Avoid non-essential travel where possible and monitor weather forecasts, advisories, and airplane updates before departing as well. Second topic, which I put in this week, excited to see. I'll take a quick sip of water before we go in. Make sure you drop a like if you're enjoying the content a little quicker this week. Since we kind of got a break, we did get some Epstein stuff released this week. My national topic wasn't about Epstein, like I always like having it, going after stuff. Still going after the Trump cabinet. It's about the Vanity Fair article. I thought it was interesting, and I liked how they attacked him, and everyone was mad about that. Vanity Fair piece based on multiple interviews of Susan Wells, one of her most powerful aides in the Trump admin, has offered a candid and unfiltered look at the life inside the West Wing currently. Wells spoke at length about political policy divisions, internal tensions, and some of the administration's most controversial decisions. She also urged striking language. She also used striking language, including President Trump's temperament as resembling an alcoholic's personality. Jesus, despite his absence, marking have a profile notable for how his personal has tone become, or how personal its tone has become. These comments were just routine political messaging. They were unusually candid for sitting seat for staff, sparking immediately reaction, and I like the photos too attacking them. White House reaction and damage control. The interviewer's publication prompt quick response from the White House itself. President Trump and his senior aides publicly defended Wells, framing Vanity Fair's article as a hit piece. And dismissing its tone as unfair or misleading. Top officials from this defense and policy circles took to social media to praise Wells' loyalty and effectiveness, even as they rejected critical framing. Wells herself weighed in via social media, calling the piece disingenuously framed, and asserting that it mischaracterized her intentions of the White House team. The key themes for the interview, the Vanity Fair profile didn't just assess personalities. It touched on substance, policy, disputes, and internal conflict. Administration missteps on immigration policy and the Jeffrey Epstein files, friction over presidential decision-making style and impulsive-driven policy, candid reflections on relationships among top aides, including Vice President J.D. Vance and others. Wells' willingness to speak openly about these issues on the record is atypical for someone in her role, sparking discussion about how cohesive or divided the White House team really is, or maybe just how they shouldn't really, most of these people shouldn't have these jobs, is how I feel. So that's interesting. What to watch next politically? This story will continue to unfold on several fronts. Will there be further official responses or clarifications from White House spokespeople? Could Wells' comments fuel ongoing debates about governance, loyalty, and internal strategy? And how might this profile influence public and media scrutiny and other senior aides? So that's interesting to me. I just like just how blunt they are in the article, attacking them on certain things like the immigration policy, Jeffrey Epstein, mostly at all, and how they just call out certain people. So that's really good to see, in my opinion. A lot of people online have been talking about the photos themselves and how, past Bush administration articles or Vanity Fair and stuff like that were taken and how these ones are. And if you know photography, it is interesting because a lot of the photos are kind of wide shots and far away shots. Really, what you should not do, because then it makes people look smaller, and then you have all these other issues. But like I don't really care about the walls. I care about the people. So you could even fix that in post, but they didn't. So a lot of these photos, they wanted them to look bad, and then they wanted, even in what they said, to look bad, because it's what they said. You can't call it a hit piece as if it's what you said. And one of it too is like sometimes you'll see in even journalists and news, like they'll use their power to be like, oh, in history, look what Vanity Fair did with this horrible Trump administration, and they're like, yeah, that was right to do, and that's really what it's about, and they see that and they understand it. They're not drinking the Kool-Aid like most people aren't, and even most Trump voters aren't anymore. So that's good to see. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll go into our next topic, our local one. Let's go into it. Ohio's Governor DeWine reluctantly signed a bill eliminating grace period for late ballots. What happened? Ohio Governor Mike DeWine signed a bill that eliminates the state's 4-day grace period for allowing May ballots to be counted if received after Election Day, but postmarked on time. The legislation will take effect before the 2026 midterm elections, of course, and requires absentee mail-in ballots to be received by Election Day to count in most cases. Why DeWine signed it, despite his reluctance? DeWine has repeatedly said he believes that a 4-day grace period was reasonable and that Ohio runs good elections, and he would normally have vetoed repealing it. But he said he signed the bill reluctantly because of an uncertainty over a pending U.S. Supreme Court case out of Mississippi challenging similar late ballot counting, which could force conflicting rules for states versus federal contests. But that means just if he's kind of going back on it, he really is, because it's going to change if that goes anyway. So that's interesting for feds. He warned that if a grace period remained in Ohio, law and the Supreme Court upheld for Mississippi ruling, the state could face chaos and confusion. Not really, though. Different sets of rules for different offices. You just have rules ready for when it happens. What the law does, the law ends a 4-day grace period for mail-in ballots. Ballots must be in the elections board's possession by the close of polls on election day to count. Except for certain exempt voters, I'm guessing like military. Yep, has exemptions for military and overseas voters who are generally covered by federal provisions. The supporters, Republicans, and some conservative groups, say the ending grace period aligns with broader effort to treat Election Day as the deadline and strengthen public confidence in election timing. I really don't care about that because every vote should matter, even if it comes in the mail late, and if it's postmarked right. Opponents like Democrats and voting rights activists argue the change could disenfranchise voters who rely on mail, especially those who are affected by postal delays, and force more people to use provisional ballots. Critics also point out the bill expands the potential for voter registration cancellations. Examples are name changes or newly naturalized citizens if paperwork issues arise. So once again, the small government Republicans are doing big government things. For broader contacts with the signing, Ohio joins a majority of states have eliminated or tightened grace period rules for mail-in ballots part of Project 2025, and Republicans just not caring about voting. If you talk to someone and they're like, well, you should just go in and vote, they're ignorant, and I'm sorry, that's true. There's just so many people with disabilities and other issues that just can't go in and vote day one. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, and that shows how most modern Republicans are, is that they're anti-disability and anti-labor. Because they just don't understand that, like, some people just have to work. Some things come up in work and life. They got multiple jobs. They might be taking care of family, kids. They just don't get that, and that's crazy to me. Sad to me. The movie comes amid a national debate over election integrity and ballot counting deadlines, including action by former President Trump and related litigation. And kind of like with immigration, with modern technology, certain things we really shouldn't have to care about. And elections is one of those. So, you know what I mean? If we have to wait a couple days and we still see it online, that's better. I mean, even with older tech, we were waiting longer. And it's people, just Americans, just so tired of it. It blows my mind. For like Bush v. Gore, we waited a week to count some like chubs or something. You know what I mean? Some chads is what they were called. My bad. On a ballot, like that's crazy to me. It doesn't make sense. So I'm really tired of them being big government attacking everyone. So of course we see that. You know, we see time and time again. They go against things that they say like, oh, you know, they this and this, and it sucks because time and time again, it's like every time when they're proven wrong, it's not like they go one for one. You know what I mean? It should be, well, if you think elections are wrong, show me times that it was actually rigged, and I'll show you times where you said it was rigged and it wasn't, and be one for one with it. Count the points, and they never do that, because after the 2020 election, and we see Rudy Giuliani lose multiple houses. You know, he only has one house left. He was mayor of New York for a long time, had the 3 Yankees championship rings, and they took him because he couldn't pay. I'm sorry. Like, grow up. Stop bootlicking. It blows my mind. It really does. You aren't an open person, you know what I mean? You're with me in Mushroom World. If you think that, I'm sorry. Now we'll go on to, oh my god, the Cavs suck and I'm tired of it. We'll go on to a last topic, Local 2. Quick one today just because it's me. I appreciate it. Once again, everyone stopping by. We'll be here this Thursday as well. So I really appreciate everyone taking the time to come by. Once again, Thursday we'll be here for our sports show. The Northeast Ohio Sports Show. Hopefully Hunter can come and we'll talk about Browns. And if Ohio State won, which would be lit. Our last topic is Vienna data center talks. Township trustees in Vienna, Ohio, are responding to growing conservations about AI, artificial intelligence, data centers in Trumbull County, though no formal proposals have yet been made by any developments and developers in that area in Vienna Township. Trustee Phil Fegg made it clear that no company has officially approached the township, but officials want to get ahead of the issues before one does, aka have the same issue that Lordstown had. Their goal is to establish zoning regulations and infrastructure guidelines now, so they aren't caught off guard later if a developer shows interest, like we've seen. Like I said, in Lordstown was the main issue, or what we've seen in the past. Pegg outlined key areas for planning, setbacks, noise limits, where utilities will come from, and how electrical services will be handled without overburdening local residents. Officials are also thinking about water access and power logistics, including the possibility of developers building its own pocket plant to generate electricity locally rather than drawing entirely from the grid, which they could do. It's all about money and saving that money. Same with water. For the longest time, we saw them take water from systems because it was easier, and sometimes, technologies like that. But I'll say when I was 14, which was in 2023, I built a computer that had a closed-loop water system, and now they're using closed-loop water systems in data center. So it's probably all about money. It's more money to build a closed-loop system than it is to take water from a city. Closed-loop systems, at least in personal computers, are always a little bit more money. But we're seeing that now, so they could always do this. Trustees emphasize, they're not saying yes or no to data centers, simply want clear rules in place at a time, so the process is orderly and legally sound and protect people as well. Data centers are massive facilities full of servers that support cloud computing, AI, business networks, and internet services. They use enormous amounts of electricity and water and can save local infrastructure planning. In Ohio overall, the data center boom has already generated tens of billions in investment and economic activity, supporting jobs and tax revenue. But it also raises questions about grid reliability and utility demand. Nearby communities have seen mixed reaction. Lordstown recently discussed potential ban and a more intensive study before allowing data center development. That's from the Vindy Tribune, Vindy.com or the Tribune. We also see more environmental concerns as well. Like with any computers, they pollute over time. That's just how a computer works. You can Google it, like VOC, VOC. Do computers release VOC? They do. So like when we talk about data centers and how they're massive facilities full of servers, they're massive computers that basically get overclocked. Good example is these data centers, the whole thing that these computers need to do is run fast and get an answer quick. The quicker you do it, that's for better AI right now. Google, even Apple, OpenAI, all these different AI companies, they're all beating it. It's basically like racing, and I like racing. I know racing. So F1, NASCAR, who could build a faster car right now? And you do that just like with computers by overclocking them. So back when I built a computer back in the day, it was an i7, 4790. That was Canyon, beautiful chip. It would base overclock to like 4.9 gigahertz. Base speed was about like 4.2, 4.5. But people could boost it to like 5.5, 5.9. But when you do that, you're using more power. It's getting hotter, which is deteriorating on itself more, and it won't last as longer. That's why with Bitcoin miners, which are people that set up Bitcoin mining servers, I call Bitcoin miners basically the servers that mine Bitcoin. Those graphics cards last way less. They'll be dead after a year, 2 years, 3 years, compared to if I had it in a personal computer. Even if I was playing a video game every day, 4K, crazy stuff, it would still would last a little bit longer than that, probably double. I wouldn't even be surprised. At least 1 year. It's gonna last like 6 to 8 years. Maybe even 10 if you're nice to it, if you're not overclocking it. So it does affect the environment just on exhaust as well. So we need better like exhaust systems or filter systems in these areas. That would be good to see. Electric and water concerns, like we said, if it's closed loop, water's not really a big deal. They could truck it in. But any closed loop system does have something called blow off, because these closed loop systems have water with some chemicals as well to be lubricants and coolants. That's just how it works, kind of like a radiator. But like since these are such high power systems, kind of like an old radiator, sometimes they get hot and wants to explode. But what you have to do in these systems is that you get all the water out of that system and you do a blow hot. So you blow hot steam throughout everything to clean all the gunk out, kind of clean the pipes out, and that just goes out into the air. Natural gas facilities have the same issues as well. So we really need to see what happens. This is just some future stuff as well. So it's definitely interesting to see. Electric. Right now we're seeing we're seeing a lot of power outages. I see in Cleveland and all these areas. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm in Columbus if this is affecting the grid more. Power is interesting because basically power lines move throughout the day. Because a power line is just a big copper cable, for more power going through it, it literally expands. So that's why it's actually worse to have power lines overhead. It's better to have them underground, but here in Ohio, we got old infrastructure. So let's say right now it's the first winter that we had, major data centers coming in. We're going to see loads on these power lines that we've never seen. So they're going to hang more. And then we have crazy winds. They're hitting things more. Hitting trees, hitting houses. Probably not houses, you know what I mean. But other things, light poles and breaking off. So we do need to be careful about that. And that'll be interesting to see in the future as well, how that's affected. And then our power bills as well, because obviously it's a rate thing. It's not like these companies are giving the electric companies money so for rate for everyone doesn't go up because their usage is going up. The usage goes up, for rate goes up. That's just how it's always worked. On the pro side, developers often point to job creation, property tax revenue increases, and long-term economic investment tied to data center facilities. Job creation is only minimal. A lot of times, we'll see a good amount for construction, but you'll see that for anything. And a lot of times, these construction workers, kind of like with a power plant, any major industry, they come from out of state. They're specialty workers. There's not many people here in Ohio that can build data centers. They're from out of state. I just know that being a civil engineer. I've seen, them promise 120 jobs once the data center is complete, and it's really been 35. So be careful about that. A lot of times those jobs are from also out of the area. Data centers also attack high tech infrastructure, which will be interesting and can anchor broader technical growth. To me, data centers are weird because it's all the internet, and with fiber now, you could put these anywhere across the country if it's just connected to good fiber lines and a good fiber infrastructure. That's really what matters. In Ohio alone, the sector contributed billions to the state's GDP recently, and supports tens of thousands of jobs. On the concern side, these facilities require high amounts of electricity, sometimes pushing local grids to near capacity and prompting utility planning changes. They can put pressure on water supplies like we've seen in Georgia and actually tap out water supplies and use them all where residents don't have them, especially where cooling systems rely on residential water usage. Community members also raise questions about noise, aesthetics, and long-term development impacts, especially if there's residents nearby. And we saw 2 weeks ago a new article come out where they're seeing higher cancer rates and miscarriage rates around data centers. So that's very sad to see. Be interesting to see what we do in the future. Personally, I am pro-environment. First, I do like development, but you could always get development out of a lot of things. 35 jobs is nothing. That's 2 Whataburgers, 2 McDonald's, and yeah, they're not the same paying jobs. So you could even triple that, and you can get that, out of retail and commercial development nowadays. We've seen that in America a lot. You know what I mean? That's kind of what we had to do once the steel mills closed down, and a lot of what we used to build in America isn't what we used to build anymore. That's just how it is. So it's crazy to me. And I definitely, like I said, we need development, we need money, but not if it's hurting our environment, and we've done that way too much in the past to keep you doing it now. So definitely be smart. That's something I want to talk about real quick. And actually, even though this is sports news, this is kind of like a national news. This crazy story. There was a story about how a NASCAR family member's house was on fire, and someone died and someone was injured. And it was Danny Hamlin. It was the father of NASCAR driver Danny Hamlin. And he was actually sick with cancer, I think. And they were basically he was getting better from cancer, and then he dies in a fire. So that's freaking crazy sad. Danny Hamlin almost won the championship last year in NASCAR. He would have. He won until most of the end of the laps. Until 10 laps left, and there was a yellow flag. And then Kyle Busch won the championship. I think Danny Hamlin should have won. We talked about that on the sports show, but crazy to see. Crazy bad year for that guy. Hopefully he's all right. I wasn't the biggest fan of him before, kind of, because he's older and he's always been close to the chip, and it's kind of sucking him not getting it. So sucks to see that happen for him. So kind of news. It was in North Carolina. His mother was the one that was critically injured too. So that's just sad. That's crazy. So we'll have to see. Sad about that. We'll be here Thursday. Probably talk a little bit about that as well and some other sports. Hope everyone had a good night. Little quick one as well. Kind of got done at the same time because it's just me even being a little bit later. Sorry about that. This weather got me, so it happens. Make sure you drop a like if you enjoyed the content, as well as even a comment would help as well. Help us out with that algorithm to say good show. Appreciate what show and topics you liked. What time. You could timestamp stuff. On YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, and always stay subscribed to stay up on the latest. And once again, this will be the last week-ahead news show. That's kind of laggy, so that's nice. That new computer's coming in Friday, so have it set up over the weekend. Appreciate everyone. Hope you have a good night. Stay warm. Hope we have a good New Year's, and everyone had a good Christmas. Got some good gifts. But if New Year's and all this snow, it's going to be crazy. So maybe everyone's staying inside and cuddling up, making soup. Appreciate everyone. Have a great night. Good night, Youngstown. Tom will be back next week. Wasn't feeling the best this week, so we understand that one.